The wind howled through the pine trees like a wild animal. Snow fell so thick that Jake Morrison could barely see his own hands in front of his face. He pulled his jacket tighter around his body and pushed forward through the storm. The cold bit at his cheeks and made his eyes water. Jake had lived in these Colorado mountains for 10 years. He knew every trail, every rock, and every tree, but tonight felt different. The storm came from nowhere, and it was getting worse by the minute. He should have stayed home by his warm fireplace, but he heard a sound earlier. A sound that did not belong in the forest. It was a crash. Not like a tree falling or rocks sliding down the mountain. This was something else. Something metal hitting the ground hard. Jake was a mechanic, and he knew the sound of metal being bent and broken. His curiosity got the better of him, so he grabbed his flashlight and heavy coat and went to look. The beam of his flashlight cut through the swirling snow. He walked slowly, following the sound he remembered. His boots crunched in the deep snow with each step. The forest was quiet except for the wind and his own breathing. Then he saw it. A strange groove in the snow, like something had been dragged across the ground. The groove was too wide to be from any animal he knew. Jake followed it with his light. Stepping carefully over fallen branches and around large rocks, the groove led him to a small clearing between the trees. In the middle of the clearing, Jake saw something that made him stop and stare. There were pieces of metal scattered in the snow. The metal was dark and smooth, unlike anything he had ever seen. It looked almost like it was made of glass, but it was clearly metal. Jake moved closer and knelt down next to one of the pieces. It was warm to the touch, which was strange because everything else was freezing cold. The metal had a blue glow that seemed to come from inside it. He had never seen anything like it before. A soft moan came from somewhere nearby. Jake stood up quickly and pointed his flashlight toward the sound. At first he saw nothing but snow and trees. Then he heard it again, weaker this time. He walked toward the sound, his heart beating faster. Behind a large boulder, Jake found her. A woman was lying in the snow, curled up and shivering. She wore clothes that looked expensive but were torn and dirty. Her dark hair was spread across the white snow like spilled ink. Jake rushed to her side and knelt down. She was unconscious but breathing. Her skin was pale, almost blue from the cold. He could see that she was hurt. There was a cut on her forehead, and her left arm was twisted at a wrong angle. "Hey, can you hear me?" Jake said, gently shaking her shoulder. "You need to wake up. It's too cold out here." The woman's eyes opened slowly. They were a strange color, almost purple in the light from his flashlight. She looked at him with confusion and fear. She tried to sit up, but winced in pain and fell back down. "Easy there," Jake said in a calm voice. "You're hurt. Don't try to move too much." The woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she spoke, but her voice was weak and her words sounded strange. Where am I?" "You're in the mountains." "In Colorado," Jake said. "I'm Jake Morrison. I live nearby." "What's your name?" The woman closed her eyes and seemed to think for a moment. "I am double quotes." She paused, as if trying to remember. "Maya. My name is Maya." "Okay, Maya, what happened to you? How did you get out here?" Maya looked around at the snow and trees. She seemed confused and frightened. "I was hiking. Yes, hiking. I fell, hit my head." Jake looked at her clothes again. She wore a jacket that looked like it cost more than his truck. Her boots were clean and new, not the kind of footwear someone would use for hiking in the mountains. Something about her story did not feel right, but now was not the time to ask questions. "We need to get you warm and get that arm looked at," Jake said. "My cabin is about a mile from here. Can you walk?" Maya tried to stand, but her legs were too weak. Jake could see that she was in bad shape. The cold was getting to her, and she needed help fast. "I'm going to carry you," Jake said. "Is that okay?" Maya nodded weakly. Jake carefully lifted her in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, and she felt fragile, like she might break if he held her too tight. He started walking back toward his cabin. Fighting against the wind and snow, the walk took longer than usual because of the storm. Jake had to stop several times to rest and make sure Maya was still conscious. She drifted in and out of awareness, sometimes muttering words that Jake could not understand. They sounded like no language he had ever heard. When they finally reached his cabin, Jake was exhausted and covered in snow. He kicked the door open and carried Maya inside. The warmth from his fireplace hit them both like a wall. Jake's cabin was small but cozy, with wood walls and simple furniture that he had built himself. He laid Maya down on his couch and covered her with a thick blanket. She was shivering so hard that her teeth were chattering. Jake quickly added more wood to the fire and then went to get his first aid kit. "How are you feeling?" he asked as he knelt beside the couch. "Cold," Maya whispered. "So cold." Jake gently cleaned the cut on her forehead. It was not as deep as he first thought, but it would need to be watched for infection. Her arm was another problem. It was definitely broken, and he was not sure how to fix it properly. "I think your arm is broken," Jake said. "We should get you to a doctor." Maya's eyes opened wide with what looked like panic. No doctors, please, but you need medical help." "I'm just a mechanic. I don't know how to fix a broken arm." "Please," Maya said, grabbing his hand with her good arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "I cannot go to a doctor. I will be fine. Just help me stay warm." Jake looked into her strange purple eyes and saw real fear there. He did not understand why she was so afraid of doctors, but he decided not to push her. Maybe she did not have insurance, or maybe she was running from something. Either way, she needed help, and Jake was not the kind of person to turn away someone in need. "Okay," he said. "But if you get worse, we're going to the hospital, whether you like it or not." Maya nodded and closed her eyes. Jake made a simple sling for her arm using a torn shirt and some rope. It was not perfect, but it would have to do for now. He gave her some aspirin for the pain and a cup of hot tea. As Maya sipped the tea, Jake noticed how she held the cup. She turned it around in her hands like she had never seen one before. She sniffed the steam and looked surprised by the smell. When she finally tasted it, her face lit up with wonder. "This is good," she said. "What is it?" "Just tea," Jake said. "Nothing fancy, chamomile tea. It helps people relax." Maya smiled for the first time since he found her. It was a beautiful smile that made her whole face change. "Thank you," she said. "You are very kind." "Anyone would do the same," Jake said. But as he looked at her strange clothes and listened to her unusual way of speaking, he wondered if Maya was anyone at all. Jake woke up early the next morning to the sound of movement in his living room. He had slept on the floor next to the couch to make sure Maya was okay during the night. The storm had finally stopped, and sunlight was coming through the windows. Maya was sitting up on the couch, looking around his cabin with wide eyes. She seemed much better than the night before. Her color had returned, and she was no longer shivering. She was studying everything in the room like she was seeing it for the first time. "How are you feeling?" Jake asked, stretching his sore back. "Much better, thank you," Maya said. "Your home is very interesting." Jake looked around his simple cabin. It was nothing special to him. Just a small kitchen, a living room with a fireplace, and a bedroom upstairs. He had built most of the furniture himself from wood he cut from the forest. Everything was practical and plain. "Interesting how?" Jake asked. Maya pointed to his bookshelf. "You have many books, and pictures of people." Family, some friends, Jake said. "The books are just things I like to read, nothing fancy." Maya stood up carefully and walked to the bookshelf. She picked up a photo of Jake with his parents from last Christmas. "They look happy," she said. "They are. They live in Denver now. I see them when I can." Maya set the photo down gently and looked at another one. This picture showed Jake helping an elderly woman carry groceries to her car. "Who is this?" "That's Mrs. Collins. She's my neighbor. She lives about a mile down the road. She's 86 and doesn't drive very well anymore, so I help her with shopping and things like that." "You help her? What do you get in return?" Jake was surprised by the question. "Nothing. She's my neighbor." "That's what neighbors do." Maya looked confused. "But if you get nothing, why do you help her?" "Because she needs help, and I can give it. She's a good person. She makes the best apple pie in the county and sometimes brings me a slice, but I'd help her even if she didn't." Maya stared at him for a long moment. That is ... unusual. Not? Around here, people help each other. It's just how things work. Jake went to the kitchen and started making breakfast. He made eggs and toast, nothing fancy. Maya watched him cook like she had never seen anyone prepare food before. She seemed amazed by the simple act of cracking eggs into a pan. Would you like some breakfast? Jake asked. Yes, please, Maya said. If it is not too much trouble. No trouble at all. I was making it anyway. Jake served the food on 2 plates and sat down at his small table. Maya sat across from him and picked up a fork. She held it strangely, like she was not used to using one. When she tasted the eggs, her face lit up with surprise. This is wonderful, she said. What did you put in it? Just salt and pepper? Maybe a little butter, nothing special. It tastes like nothing I have ever had before. Jake thought that was an odd thing to say about plain scrambled eggs, but he did not comment. Maya seemed to enjoy every bite, eating slowly and carefully like she was savoring each taste. After breakfast, Jake needed to check on his truck. The engine had been making strange noises, and he wanted to fix it before it got worse. Maya followed him outside to his small garage. What are you doing? She asked. Fixing my truck? It's making a weird sound when I start it. Probably just needs new spark plugs. Jake opened the hood and looked at the engine. Maya came closer and peered inside. She studied the engine with intense concentration, like she was trying to figure out how it worked. This machine moves you from place to place? She asked. Yeah, it's a truck. Haven't you ever seen one before? Maya hesitated. Of course I have, I'm not familiar with this type. Jake started working on the engine. He removed the old spark plugs and showed them to Maya. See how these are black and worn out? That's why the engine was running. Rough. Maya took one of the spark plugs and examined it closely. So this small thing makes the big machine work? It's part of what makes it work. The spark plug creates a spark that ignites the fuel. 8 of these little sparks work together to make the engine run? Amazing, Maya said. Such a simple thing, but so important. Jake installed the new spark plugs and started the engine. It ran smoothly now, purring like a satisfied cat. Maya jumped back when it started, like she was surprised by the sound. Want to go for a ride? Jake asked. I need to check on Mrs. Collins anyway, Maya nodded eagerly. Jake opened the passenger door for her and she climbed in carefully. She looked around the inside of the truck with the same wonder she had shown for everything else. The drive to Mrs. Collins' house took about 10 minutes on the winding mountain road. Maya stared out the window at the trees and mountains, seeming amazed by the scenery. Jake had driven this road thousands of times, but seeing it through Maya's eyes made it feel new and beautiful. Mrs. Collins was outside when they arrived, trying to carry a heavy bag of birdseed to her backyard. Jake quickly got out and took the bag from her. Good morning, Mrs. Collins, he said. Let me get that for you. Oh, Jake, you're such a dear, the old woman said. I can manage. I know you can, but I'm here now. Where do you want this? Jake carried the bag to her backyard and filled the bird feeders hanging from the trees. Mrs. Collins followed him, chatting about her garden and the weather. Maya stayed by the truck, watching the interaction with intense interest. Who's your friend? Mrs. Collins asked, noticing Maya. This is Maya. She had an accident in the storm last night. She's staying with me until she feels better. Mrs. Collins walked over to Maya and smiled warmly. Hello, dear. I'm Betty Collins. Are you hurt badly? I am much better now, thank you, Maya said. Jake has been very kind to me. That's our Jake. He's one of the good ones. Are you hungry? I just made some cookies. Before Maya could answer, Mrs. Collins was already walking toward her house. Come on, both of you. I'll put on some coffee. They sat in Mrs. Collins' cozy kitchen, drinking coffee and eating chocolate chip cookies. Maya seemed fascinated by the old woman's stories about the town and its people. She asked many questions about how people lived, what they did for work, and how they helped each other. You ask such interesting questions, Mrs. Collins said. Are you from around here? No, Maya said. I am from ... far away. Very far away. Well, you're welcome here anytime. Jake's a good judge of character. If he likes you, then you're okay in my book. On the drive back to Jake's cabin, Maya was quiet. She seemed to be thinking about something important. Finally, she spoke. Mrs. Collins is very kind to you, and you are kind to her. But you are not family. No, but that doesn't matter. She's a good person, and she's alone. Her husband died 5 years ago, and her children live in other states. Everyone needs someone to care about them. In your world, people help each other without expecting anything back? In my world? Jake looked at her strangely. What do you mean? Maya looked flustered. I meant ... in your town. In your area? Yeah, mostly. I mean, not everyone is perfect, but most people try to do the right thing. If someone needs help, you help them. That's just how it should be, Maya nodded slowly. That is a beautiful way to live. When they got back to the cabin, Jake needed to split some firewood. Maya watched him work, seeming amazed by his strength and skill with the axe. When he finished, she offered to help him carry the wood inside. I can manage, Jake said. Your arm is still hurt. I feel much better. Please, let me help. Maya picked up several pieces of wood with her good arm. Jake was surprised by how easily she lifted them. The wood was heavy, but she carried it like it weighed nothing. When they stacked the wood by the fireplace, Jake noticed that Maya was not breathing hard at all. You're stronger than you look, he said. Maya looked worried. I'm just ... heal quickly and I exercise a lot. That evening they sat by the fire talking. Maya asked Jake about his life, his work, and his dreams. She seemed genuinely interested in everything he said. Jake found himself telling her things he had never told anyone else. Why do you live alone in the mountains? Maya asked. I like the peace and quiet. In the city, everything is rushed and noisy. Here I can think, I can be myself. Are you not lonely? Sometimes. But I have good neighbors like Mrs. Collins, and I go to town when I need to see people. This life suits me. Maya smiled. You are content with simple things. That is rare. What? About you? What's your life like? Maya's smile faded. Complicated. Very complicated. I have many responsibilities. Many people depend on me for important decisions. Sounds stressful. It is. More than you could know. Jake could see sadness in her purple eyes. Whatever her life was like. It was not easy. He had a feeling that Maya was running from something, but he did not ask. Everyone had a right to their privacy. As the fire burned low, Jake realized that he enjoyed Maya's company. She was intelligent and kind, and she seemed to truly care about the things that mattered to him. There was something special about her. Something that made him want to protect her and help her find whatever she was looking for. But deep down, Jake knew that Maya was not what she seemed. Her strange questions, her unusual strength, and her fear of doctors all pointed to secrets she was not ready to share. He decided to be patient and let her tell him the truth when she was ready. After all, everyone deserved a second chance, and everyone deserved to be treated with kindness, no matter where they came from or what they had done. 3 days had passed since Jake found Maya in the forest. She was healing much faster than he expected. Her broken arm seemed almost back to normal, and the cut on her forehead had disappeared completely. Jake was amazed by how quickly she recovered. But he tried not to think about it too much. Maya helped him with small tasks around the cabin. She learned to cook simple meals and seemed to enjoy doing ordinary things like washing dishes and folding clothes. But Jake noticed that she did everything with careful attention, like she was studying human behavior. On the 4th morning, Jake woke up to find Maya standing at the window, looking up at the sky with a worried expression. She had been doing this more often lately, always watching the sky like she was waiting for something. Everything okay? Jake asked. Maya turned from the window quickly. Yes, of course, just enjoying the view. But Jake could see fear in her eyes. She was scared of something, and it had to do with the sky. He wanted to ask her about it, but every time he got close to asking personal questions, Maya would change the subject. That afternoon, Jake was working in his garage when he heard a strange sound coming from outside. It was a low humming noise, like electricity running through wires. He had never heard anything like it before. Maya came running into the garage, her face pale with terror. "We need to hide," she said. "Right now." "Hide from what?" Jake asked, but Maya was already pulling him toward the back of the garage. The humming sound got louder. Through the garage window, Jake saw something that made his heart stop. A silver object was floating in the air above his cabin. It was shaped like a disc and was about the size of a car. Blue light glowed from underneath. What is that thing?" Jake whispered. Maya was breathing hard, pressed against the wall. "They found me," she said. "I thought I had more time." "Who found you, Maya? What's going on?" Before Maya could answer, the flying object moved away from the cabin and disappeared over the trees. Maya waited several minutes before she relaxed. "It's gone," she said, "but they'll be back. They're looking for me." Jake stared at her. "Maya, you need to tell me what's happening." "That thing up there, what was it?" Maya looked at him for a long moment. Jake could see her struggling with something inside her mind. Finally, she sighed and sat down on a wooden crate. "I haven't been honest with you," she said. "My name is Maya. But that's not my real name, and I'm not from around here. I'm not from anywhere on this world." Jake felt his legs go weak. He sat down across from her, trying to process what she had just said. "You mean you're not from Earth?" "No, I'm from a place very far away. So far that if you looked up at the night sky, you couldn't see it with your eyes." "You're an alien," Maya nodded. "Yes, I'm sorry I lied to you. I was afraid you wouldn't help me if you knew the truth." Jake was quiet for a moment. Part of him wanted to think Maya was crazy, but he had seen the flying object with his own eyes. And all the strange things about her suddenly made sense. "So when you said you were hiking and fell, that was a lie?" "Yes, I was running away from people who want to hurt me. My transportation crashed in your forest during the storm. The metal pieces you found were parts of my ship." "Why are people trying to hurt you?" Maya took a deep breath. "Because of who I am. Jake, I'm not just any person from another world. I'm a princess. My real name is Zarethil, and I'm the heir to something called the Andromedian Empire." Jake stared at her. "A princess? Like a real princess?" "Yes, my father rules thousands of worlds and billions of people. When he dies, I'm supposed to take his place." "But you're running away from that?" "Some people in my government don't want me to become the next ruler. They think I'm too young and too weak. They tried to kill me during a ceremony on my home world. My guard, Commander Vexstar, helped me escape, but I had to leave him behind." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "I don't even know if he's still alive." Jake reached over and took her hand. "I'm sorry. That must be terrible. The worst part is that if I don't go back soon, there will be a war. The people who tried to kill me will try to take power. Millions of innocent people will die. Then why don't you go back?" "Because I'm not ready. I don't know how to be a ruler. I don't know how to make the hard decisions that a leader has to make. I thought I could hide here until I figured out what to do." Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking about everything Maya had told him. It was hard to believe, but it explained so much about her behavior. "Is that why you were so amazed by simple things?" "Because your world is different?" Maya nodded. "Very different. Where I come from, people don't help each other without expecting something in return. Power is everything. People lie and cheat and hurt each other to get what they want." "That sounds awful." "It is. But watching you and Mrs. Collins, seeing how you live, it's shown me something I never knew existed. You help people because it's the right thing to do. You're happy with simple things. You don't need power or wealth to be content." Maya looked at him with her strange purple eyes. "Jake, you've taught me more about being a good person in 4 days than I learned in 25 years on my homeworld." Just then, a small device hidden in Maya's jacket started beeping. She pulled it out quickly. It was a flat piece of the same dark metal Jake had found in the forest, but this piece was glowing with soft blue light. "What is that?" Jake asked. "It's a communicator. Someone is trying to contact me." Maya touched the device, and suddenly a voice filled the garage. It was a man's voice, deep and strong, but Jake couldn't understand the words. Maya answered in the same strange language. After a few minutes, Maya turned off the device. She looked relieved but also sad. That was Commander Vexstar, she said. He's alive and he's coming to get me. That's good news, right? Yes and no. He's bringing ships to rescue me, but he says the people who tried to kill me are also coming. They tracked my escape route and figured out that I came to Earth. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. So that thing we saw earlier, it was a scout ship. They're looking for me. And when they find me, they won't care about protecting innocent people. They'll do whatever it takes to eliminate me. What does that mean for people here? For Mrs. Collins and the others in town? Maya's face went pale. I don't know. My people have rules about not interfering with less advanced civilizations, but the people trying to kill me don't always follow rules. Jake stood up and started pacing. How long do we have? Vexstar said he would be here in 2 days. The assassins might arrive sooner, then we need to prepare. Maya looked surprised. We? Yes, we. You said these people want to hurt you and you're staying in my home. That makes it my problem too. Jake, you don't understand. These people have weapons and technology that could destroy your entire town. You can't fight them. Maybe not. But I can try. You've been kind to me and you're my friend. I don't abandon my friends when they're in trouble. Maya stared at him with tears in her eyes. But you could die. You could get hurt because of me. That's my choice to make. You didn't ask to be born a princess, and you didn't ask for people to try to kill you. Sometimes bad things happen, and good people have to stand up to them. Maya was quiet for a long moment. In my world, very few people would risk their lives for someone they barely know. Well, you're not in your world anymore. You're on Earth. And things work differently here. Jake went to a cabinet and pulled out a hunting rifle. This probably won't do much against alien technology, but it's better than nothing. Jake, I can't let you do this. If something happens to you because of me, I'll never forgive myself. And if I let something happen to you when I could have helped prevent it, I'll never forgive myself either. Maya looked at the rifle in Jake's hands, then at his determined face. Slowly she smiled. You know what the strangest part is? She said, What? A few days ago, I thought I was weak. I thought I couldn't be a leader because I didn't know how to be ruthless and cold. But watching you, I've learned that real strength isn't about being cruel or powerful. It's about doing what's right even when it's dangerous. Jake checked the rifle to make sure it was loaded. So what do we do now? Now we prepare. I'll teach you about their weapons and their tactics. You teach me about this area and how to survive in it. If we're going to have a chance, we need to use every advantage we have. Maya stood up and looked out the window at the forest. Jake, there's something else you should know. The people coming to kill me aren't just dangerous because of their technology. They're dangerous because they've never lost a fight. They've conquered entire worlds. Well, Jake said, loading bullets into the rifle, they've never fought on Earth before. Let's see how they handle a little mountain hospitality. For the first time since the scout ship appeared, Maya laughed. It was a sound full of hope and determination. You're right, she said. They have no idea what they're walking into. Outside, the sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Soon the forest would be dark and the real test would begin. But for now, Jake and Maya worked together, preparing for a fight that would determine not just their fate, but the fate of everyone they cared about. Jake had welcomed a stranger into his home, and now he was about to fight aliens to protect her. If someone had told him a week ago that this would happen, he would have laughed. But life had a way of surprising people, and sometimes. The next morning, Jake woke up to Maya shaking his shoulder gently. Her face was serious and worried. They're here, she whispered. 3 ships landed in the valley during the night. They'll start searching the forest soon. Jake grabbed his rifle and looked out the window. The forest looked normal, but he knew that somewhere out there, alien soldiers were hunting for Maya. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to stay calm. How many of them are there? He asked. Usually 6 soldiers per ship, so probably 18 total. They're led by someone called Duke Morkin. He's the one who wants me dead. Jake had spent most of yesterday learning about alien weapons from Maya. She told him about energy guns that could cut through metal and shields that could stop bullets. The aliens also had advanced sensors that could track people through walls, but Jake had advantages too. He knew these mountains better than anyone. He knew every trail, every cave, and every hiding spot. He also had something the aliens didn't expect: help from his neighbors. Yesterday evening, Jake had called Sheriff Don Pierce and told him that dangerous people were coming to the area. He didn't mention aliens, just said that Maya was in witness protection and that killers were after her. Dan had agreed to help without asking too many questions. "We need to move," Jake said. "They'll search this cabin first." Jake and Maya quickly packed supplies into backpacks. Jake took his hunting rifle, extra ammunition, and the improvised weapons he had made using Maya's knowledge of alien technology. Maya had helped him modify some of his tools to create simple but effective traps. They left the cabin and headed into the forest. Jake led Maya along paths that were hard to see unless you knew where to look. They moved quietly, staying away from open areas where the alien scouts might spot them. After an hour of hiking, they reached a cave that Jake had discovered years ago. It was hidden behind a waterfall and could only be reached by climbing over slippery rocks. Jake was sure the aliens wouldn't find it easily. Inside the cave, they set up a temporary camp. Maya used her communicator to contact Commander Vexstar, but she kept the conversation short so the aliens couldn't track the signal. "Vexstar will be here tonight," she told Jake. "But he only has one ship and a small crew. The assassins have 3 ships and more soldiers." "Then we need to even the odds before he arrives," Jake said. He pulled out a map of the area and showed Maya the locations of all the trails and roads. "If we can force them to split up and search different areas, we can pick them off one by one." Maya studied the map. "You want to hunt the hunters." "Exactly, but we can't do it alone. I've got friends who can help." That afternoon, Sheriff Don Pierce arrived at their meeting point with 3 other men. There was Tom Bradley, who ran the local hardware store and was an expert with explosives from his time in the military. Next was Carl Watson, a forest ranger, who knew the mountains almost as well as Jake. The last man was Rick Murphy, a retired police officer who had moved to the mountains for the peace and quiet. Jake introduced Maya as the person they were protecting, but he didn't tell them she was an alien princess. He said she was a witness against dangerous criminals who had followed her to Colorado. "These people have military-grade weapons," Jake told the group. "They're well-trained and they're not afraid to kill innocent people to get what they want." "How many are we talking about?" Don asked. "About 18, maybe more. They're spread out in 3 groups, searching the forest." Tom Bradley whistled softly. "That's a lot of firepower against 6 people. But we have the home field advantage," Carl said. "They don't know these mountains. We do," Rick nodded. "Plus, they probably don't expect any resistance from locals. They think they're dealing with one scared woman hiding in the woods." Maya listened to the men talk and was amazed by their willingness to help. "You're all risking your lives for someone you just met," she said. "That's what neighbors do," Dunn said simply. "Jake says you need help, so you've got it." Jake spread out the map and showed the others his plan. They would set up ambush points along the main trails and use the terrain to their advantage. Tom would place explosive traps at key locations. Carl would guide them through the forest using paths the aliens wouldn't know about. Rick and Dan would coordinate radio communications to make sure everyone stayed in contact. "What about Mrs. Collins and the other people in town?" May asked. "Already taken care of," Don said. "I told everyone there was a gas leak and they needed to evacuate for a few days. Most people went to stay with relatives in Denver." As the sun began to set, the group split up and moved to their positions. Jake and Maya headed toward the North Trail, where alien scouts had been spotted earlier. They found a good hiding spot behind some large rocks and waited. They didn't have to wait long. 2 figures in dark armor came walking down the trail, moving quietly but not quietly enough for Jake's trained ears. The aliens carried weapons that looked like rifles but glowed with blue energy. Jake aimed his hunting rifle and waited for them. To get closer, when they were about 50 feet away, he fired. The bullet hit the first alien in the chest, and the soldier fell to the ground. The second alien spun around, trying to figure out where the shot came from. Maya jumped out from behind the rocks and tackled the second alien. She was much stronger than she looked, and she wrestled the energy weapon away from the soldier. The alien tried to fight back, but Maya hit him with a rock and knocked him unconscious. 2 down, Jake said into his radio. North Trail is clear. Over the radio they heard Tom's voice. Got 3 more with the explosive trap on the East Trail. They weren't expecting that, Carl reported in next. 2 aliens tried to follow the creek. They're not going anywhere now. But then Rick's voice came through, tense and worried. I've got a problem here. There's a whole group of them heading toward town. I count at least 8 soldiers. That's impossible, Maya said. There should only be 8-10 total. They must have called for backup, Jake said. We need to stop them before they reach the evacuated area and figure out that people are missing. Jake and Maya left their position and ran through the forest toward town. They used Carl's hidden paths to move quickly without being seen. Behind them, they could hear the aliens regrouping and searching for their missing soldiers. When they reached the edge of town, they could see the alien soldiers moving between the empty houses. The soldiers were getting suspicious about why the town was deserted. One of them was talking into a communication device, probably reporting back to their leader. We need a distraction, Jake said. Maya nodded and pulled out her communicator. She spoke into it using her alien language, but she made her voice sound frightened and desperate. The alien soldiers heard the transmission and immediately started moving toward the source of the signal. But Maya had bounced the signal off several relay points, making it seem like it was coming from the old mine shaft on the far side of town. That should keep them busy for a while, Maya said, but as they watched the soldiers move away, Jake saw something that made his blood run cold. One soldier had stayed behind and was setting up a large device in the center of town. The device was glowing with the same blue energy as the alien weapons. What is that thing? Jake asked. Maya's face went pale. It's a scanner. It can detect any alien technology within miles. If it finishes its scan, it will find my communicator and know exactly where I am. How long do we have? Maybe 5 minutes before it's fully charged. Jake looked at the device and then at his hunting rifle. It was too far away for an accurate shot, and there were too many obstacles between them and the soldier guarding it. I have an idea, Jake said, but you're not going to like it. What is it? We use me as bait. I'll walk into the open and get the soldier's attention. While he's focused on me, you circle around and destroy the scanner. Absolutely not, Maya said. Those energy weapons will kill you instantly. Not if I don't give him a clear shot. There's plenty of cover between here and there. I can keep him busy long enough for you to do what you need to do. Maya grabbed Jake's arm. There has to be another way. There isn't time to think of one. That scanner will be ready soon, and then they'll know where you are. At least this way, we have a chance. Jake could see the fear in Maya's eyes, but he could also see that she knew he was right. Sometimes the only way to win was to take risks. Okay, she said finally. But promise me you'll be careful. I promise. Jake handed Maya his spare ammunition and checked his rifle one more time. Then he took a deep breath and stepped out of the forest into the open street. The alien soldier spotted him immediately and raised his energy weapon. Jake dove behind a parked car just as a blue beam of light cut through the air where he had been standing. The beam hit a street sign and melted it like butter. Jake rolled to the side and fired a shot at the alien. He missed, but it forced the soldier to take cover behind the scanner device. Jake kept moving, using cars and buildings for protection while he worked his way closer, behind the alien's position. Jake could see Maya moving silently through the shadows. She was almost in position to attack the scanner when something went wrong. The alien soldier's communication device started beeping. He listened to it for a moment, then spoke into it in his strange language. Jake couldn't understand the words, but he could tell from the soldier's body language. The night sky was filled with stars when Commander Vexstar S rescue ship finally arrived. Jake watched from the forest as a sleek silver vessel landed silently in the meadow near his cabin. It was much larger than the assassin ships and had elegant curves instead of sharp edges. "That's Vexstar," Maya said with relief in her voice. He made it, but their celebration was short-lived. From 3 different directions, the remaining alien assassins were moving toward the meadow. Duke Morkan had gathered his surviving soldiers and was planning one final attack to kill Maya before she could escape. "There are still about 10 of them left," Jake said, counting the figures moving through the trees. "Your friend won't know they're coming?" Maya tried to contact Vexstar with her communicator, but the assassins were jamming all signals. The rescue ship was sitting in the meadow like a target, completely unaware of the danger approaching. "We have to warn them," Maya said. Jake looked at the situation and made a quick decision. "Don, Carl, Tom, Rick, can you hear me?" He said into his radio. One by one, his friends responded. They were all in position around the forest, watching the alien soldiers move toward the meadow. "We're going to help Maya's rescue team," Jake told them. "But we need to be smart about this. These soldiers are desperate now, which makes them more dangerous." Tom Bradley's voice came through the radio. "I've got explosive charges set up along the South Trail. I can cut off half their group if they try to retreat that way." "Good," Jake said. "Carl, can you guide Maya's rescue team to a better position?" "Already on it," Carl replied. "I'm moving toward their ship now." Jake turned to Maya. "Can your people fight?" "Vexstar is a military commander. He brought 6 soldiers with him. But they're not expecting an ambush." "Then we better even the odds." Jake and Maya moved through the forest toward the meadow. Behind them, they could hear the assassin soldiers communicating in their alien language. The sounds were getting closer. When they reached the edge of the meadow, Jake could see Vexstar's soldiers setting up a defensive perimeter around their ship. They wore armor similar to the assassins but with different markings. One of them, a tall figure with silver decorations on his uniform, was clearly the commander. Suddenly, energy beams started flying across the meadow. The assassins had begun their attack from multiple directions. Vexstar's soldiers took cover behind their ship and started firing back. "We need to help them," Maya said. "Stay here," Jake told her. "You're what they're really after. If they capture you, this whole fight is pointless." Jake ran into the meadow, keeping low to avoid the energy beams crossing overhead. He reached Vexstar's position and dove behind the ship's landing gear. "You must be the human who protected the princess," Vexstar said in accented but clear English. He was an impressive figure, tall and strong, with scars on his face that spoke of many battles. "Jake Morrison," Jake said, extending his hand. "And you're in a lot of trouble." Vexstar shook his hand with a grip like iron. "Commander Vexstar." "How many enemies?" "About 10, attacking from 3 sides. But I've got help coming." As if summoned by his words, explosions erupted from the south side of the meadow. Tom's charges had detonated, and 3 assassin soldiers were thrown to the ground. The remaining attackers hesitated, confused by this unexpected resistance. "Now!" Jake shouted into his radio. Sheriff Don Pierce and his men opened fire from their hidden positions around the meadow. Their hunting rifles couldn't match the alien energy weapons, but they created enough confusion to disrupt the assassins. "Coordinated attack," Rick Murphy's voice came through the radio. "Got 2 more on the east side. They didn't expect the crossfire." The battle was chaotic but brief. The assassins had expected to fight only Vexstar's small rescue team. They were not prepared for a coordinated defense by humans who knew the terrain and had planned their positions carefully. Within 10 minutes, the shooting stopped. The surviving assassins had either been captured or had fled into the forest. Duke Morkan was among the dead, struck down by one of Vexstar's energy weapons as he tried to reach Maya's position. As the smoke cleared, Vexstar approached Jake with something like wonder in his eyes. "You defeated trained Andromedian soldiers with primitive weapons." "We had good positions and we worked together," Jake said simply. "Sometimes that's enough." Vexstar looked around at the human defenders emerging from their hiding spots. "I have studied many species across the galaxy. I have never seen anything like what happened here tonight. Maya came running across the meadow and threw her arms around Vexstar. I thought I'd never see you again, she said. As did I, Princess, but your human friend kept you safe. He and his people fought like warriors defending their own family. Maya looked at Jake and his friends. Dan was checking on the wounded. Tom was making sure his explosives were all accounted for. Carl was helping Vexstar's soldiers search the area for any remaining threats. Rick was using his radio to call for medical help. They are good people, Maya said. The best I've ever known. Vexstar nodded. Come, Princess. We must return home. The Empire needs you now more than ever. But Maya didn't move toward the ship. She stood looking at Jake and then at the mountains around them. Vexstar, what would happen if I didn't come back? The Civil War would continue. Many would die. The Empire would eventually fall apart. And if I do go back, what then? You would take your father's throne and rule as he did. You would have power over thousands of worlds. Maya was quiet for a long moment. What if there was a third option? Jake could see that Maya was struggling with a difficult decision. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm thinking that maybe the Empire doesn't need another ruler like my father. Maybe it needs something completely different. Maya turned to Vexstar. What if instead of just taking power, I tried to change how the Empire works? What if I tried to make it more like ... this? She gestured toward Jake and his friends, who were now helping to tend to the wounded alien soldiers without any concern for which side they had been fighting on. Princess, I don't understand, Vexstar said. Look at them, Maya said. They risk their lives for someone they barely knew. They worked together without anyone ordering them to. They helped their enemies once the fighting was over. When was the last time you saw that kind of behavior in the Empire? Vexstar watched as Sheriff Don Pierce offered water to one of the captured assassin soldiers. Never, he admitted. Maya walked over to Jake. You've shown me something I didn't know existed. You've shown me that people can be good to each other without expecting anything in return, that they can work together without fear or greed driving them. It's not complicated, Jake said. You just treat people the way you want to be treated. But it could be, Maya said with growing excitement. What if I took that idea back to the Empire? What if instead of ruling through fear and power, I tried to lead by example? Jake smiled. That sounds like a good plan, but you can't do it alone. I know. That's why I want you to come with me. Jake stared at her. Come with you? To space? As Earth's first ambassador to the Andromedian Empire, someone needs to teach my people about human values. Who better than the person who taught them to me? Jake looked around at his friends, his home, and the mountains he loved. The idea of leaving Earth seemed impossible, but then he thought about all the people in Maya's empire who were suffering because of war and corruption. What about my life here? He asked. You'll always have a home here, Don said. But Maya's right. If there's a chance to help that many people, you have to take it. Mrs. Collins, who had returned from Denver when she heard about the trouble, walked up to Jake and patted his arm. Go on, dear. Do some good in the universe. We'll keep your cabin ready for when you visit. Jake looked at Maya's hopeful face and Vexstar's respectful expression. He thought about all the people on thousands of worlds who might benefit from learning about simple human kindness. Okay, he said finally, but I have some conditions. Name them, Maya said. First, Earth stays independent. We're partners, not subjects. Agreed. Second, any other humans who want to join this ambassador program do it voluntarily. Of course. And third, I get to come home whenever I want to visit Mrs. Collins and make sure she's okay. Maya laughed. I think those terms are very reasonable. As they prepared to board Vexstar's ship, Jake took one last look at his mountain home. A week ago, he had been a simple mechanic living a quiet life. Now he was about to become humanity's representative to a galactic empire. Are you scared? Maya asked. Terrified, Jake admitted, but also excited. If we can really make a difference out there, if we can help people live better lives, then it's worth it. Maya took his hand as they walked up the ramp into the ship. Jake Morrison, you welcomed a stranger into your home when you didn't have to. You defended someone you barely knew against impossible odds. You've already made more of a difference than you know. As the ship lifted off from the meadow, Jake watched the earth fall away below them. He was leaving behind everything familiar and heading into the unknown. But he wasn't afraid anymore. He had learned something important over the past week. Sometimes, the most ordinary people were called to do extraordinary things. And sometimes the greatest changes in the universe started with the simple act of being kind to a stranger. In the weeks and months that followed, Jake's influence spread,